Alright, let's fucking talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 while I'm wearing a shitty ass fucking Halloween costume.
He's killing him!
Who's killing who?
What's wrong with you people?
Oh, my.
What's up, guys? Hope y'all are doing well. Welcome back to my channel. And why am I wearing this shitty looking costume that is too small for me? Well, it's because today we're talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, the remake to the 1974 horror classic, which I also love. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this movie is because I talked about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 film, and surprisingly, that video has been a lot more popular than my other ones, so I figured I'd just continue on talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm wearing this because I found it in my closet. I was Leatherface for Halloween when I was probably like 10 years old, long before I had seen the movie, because I wasn't about to watch that scary ass shit at that age. But I found this costume, so I figured, hey, why not? Let's just fucking wear it for the review. This film, similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, I feel like falls under the category of being pretty overlooked and underrated. That being said, I know that this film, you know, in the years since it came out, has garnered more of a following, and people kind of look back on it more fondly now than they ever have. Because this is, in my opinion, one of the best horror remakes ever. Definitely the best horror remake of the last 20 years. And I'm going to explain to you why. First off, right off the bat, if you've seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, you know that that movie just has a feel to it that cannot be replicated. Due to shooting conditions, due to it being 1974, and it just, due to almost the low quality nature of that film, it almost looks like pretty shitty and very low budget, but that, in my opinion, works to that film's advantage in kind of creating this atmosphere that is just very raw and just very disgusting. Like, when you watch that movie, you literally feel like you're there because, you know, they went through hell to make that movie. It was like 100-something degrees. They were surrounded by rotting animals, and just, it smelled disgusting. Everybody was getting sick. Everybody wanted to kill each other by the time they finished shooting that movie. And all that, all the kind of like behind the scenes bullshit that went on, definitely adds to that film and could not be replicated through a remake. But what I think this film does really, really well is it still gives you that really uneasy, really just disgusting atmosphere, but it does it in a different way. And one of the big things that I think that this film actually does better than the original film is the family, or the supporting characters, because in this film you have R. Lee Ermey as the sheriff, and this is my favorite character of the entire franchise. R. Lee Ermey, if you put that guy in the right role, he is scary as hell, and he is terrifying here. You know, when he shows up and he's making them do all this uncomfortable shit with, like, you know, wrapping up the dead hitchhiker who pulls a gun out of her vagina and blows her head off, which, that was a hell of a way to start this movie. But when they're making them, when he's making them, you know, wrap her up in the, like, plastic, and then, you know, he takes Jonathan Tucker's character and makes him put the gun in his mouth.
What's going on? You okay?
You girls stay in the dirt till I tell you different. You motherfucker! Get on the fucking floor!
And just really toying with these characters and, you know, really, you know, they call the sheriff thinking that this guy's going to help them, and then you find out that this guy is in on it, and he is, in a lot of ways, worse than Leatherface. I mean, this guy was just perfect in this movie. He's so scary, And like I said, I mean, I really do think in a lot of ways he's scarier than Leatherface, because he just takes such joy in tormenting these kids. And I think that him alone is the reason why this film and its prequel, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning, are two of the very best films in this franchise, because R. Lee Ermey just adds another dimension that just makes these two films in particular so terrifying. And along with that, you have Andrew Bryniarski as Leatherface. I believe that's how you say his name. And in my opinion, he's the best Leatherface ever. I know that he and Gunnar Hansen kind of got into it. Later in life, I think Gunnar Hansen was kind of bad-mouthing him at some conventions and stuff, and Andrew kind of, you know, came back at him. But honestly, look, I love Gunnar Hansen. I love what he did in that original film, and it worked for that film. But Andrew just comes on the scene in this movie, and he is just massive. And I mean, this guy is literally just a hulking, like, 400-pound beast that is running around chasing you with a chainsaw. And he is terrifying. Everything from, like I said, just his size to the energy that he brings, and even his look. You know, like I talked about in my last video on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that one of the fun things about Leatherface's character is that, you know, the mask that he has, his leather face, you know, always stays similar, but, you know, will change from movie to movie. So each filmmaker, each, you know, costume designer gets to kind of put their own spin on it. And I think that this Leatherface is one of the scariest looking that we've ever gotten. I used to have, you know, because I had this costume, obviously, I had like the really nice mask, and it was super cool. And I just love this Leatherface. Like, to me, this is the scariest. He's the most intimidating. He is the one Leatherface out of all of them that I would, you know, want to chase me the least, because this guy is terrifying. As far as the acting goes, I thought all the kids did well. Jessica Biel, her acting in this movie is really good. really good acting. Anyways, but I thought he was good. You had Eric Balfour playing her boyfriend Kemper, and I thought just all these characters were likable. And one thing that kind of immediately hooked me into this film and kind of got me like on board for the ride is the fact that they're going to a Lynyrd Skynyrd concert. So that's something that they changed from the original, where they were just going to like visit their family, I think. In this one, they're going to a Lynyrd Skynyrd concert, so you get Sweet Home Alabama.
Somebody please make her stop singing.
I just like rock music. I like Lynyrd Skynyrd, so that was fun to see. And I just thought all these characters were pretty likable. Especially, look, I'm joking. I was joking about Jessica Biel. Obviously, her butt in this movie is like a character of its own. Like, they make sure to show it, but that aside, Jessica Biel is really fantastic in this movie. She's smart, she's easy to root for, she's tough. I mean, she's got the makings, like everything you want in a final girl. And I think Jessica Biel is, as far as just like the cannon fodder victim characters of this franchise, I think Jessica Biel is probably my very favorite, because she absolutely kills it in this movie. I've seen some people kind of complaining about, you know, elements that they change and things that were in the original that weren't in this film. For example, the dinner scene, the famous dinner scene. And honestly, I was okay with that, because I feel like what they gave us instead was really cool. The chase through the slaughterhouse was super tense. I mean, you were on the, when Jessica Biel is in the like freezer and she's hiding, you know, behind the like literal like carcass of like a cow or something that's, you know, frozen. Like, it is literally edge of your seat, like super tense. And I feel like that if they had tried to redo the dinner scene in this movie, it just wouldn't have had the same effect, because if you know anything about that original film and the making of it, that dinner scene alone took like over 24 hours to film. So literally when you're watching that scene and you're watching Marilyn Burns like descend into just madness when she's going nuts, a lot of that was real because they were so tired of shooting that damn movie. And so I feel like that if they had kind of tried to recreate that here, I think, you know, they could have done something cool, but it just would have lost kind of the essential element that made that dinner scene so effective in the original film. But again, you know, I thought that the slaughterhouse chase was awesome. You have a new element of, you know, these people that are like part of the family kind of, but they're not actually in the house. Like, you know, she's going and she's trying to escape Leatherface, and she comes across this little trailer of people that are like near the house, and there's a baby, and there's this one like scary looking woman that looks like she needs to eat a sandwich, and there's this like really fat woman that's in there that's like, oh my, that boy Leatherface is so sweet. I don't know if she actually said that, but she talks like that. She's just got that Southern belle, like really like creepy vibe to her. And so, you know, you think for a second, okay, maybe these people are safe. And then they like put something in her tea and she passes out, and you're just like, holy fuck. Like, this movie never lets up. Like, it is so intense. And I think that's the thing. It gets away with not having some of the grime of that original film because it is just so intense, and it's so just like edge of your seat, like all the way through. I mean, the second that that girl, you know, pulls a gun out of her vagina and shoots herself in the face, like from then on out, like it is just a fucking thrill ride. Like, I love this movie. I think it is so rewatchable too. And that's another element. Like, when I'm thinking about, you know, my favorite in this franchise, you know, while I'm inclined to say that the original film is pretty much still the best movie, because like I said, there was a crime to that film just due to the fact that they didn't have any money, and due to the fact that, you know, they just went through hell to make it. And that definitely makes that film special, and in a way, like, unable to be topped, I think. But I feel like this is a film that is just overall easier to watch, and in a lot of ways just more entertaining, because that original film is an experience, right? Like, you watch it because you want to genuinely feel unsettled, while this movie is just a really fun, really intense slasher ride. And I think for that reason, even though I would still say the original film is probably the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, this is definitely my favorite. I've watched it way more times than I've watched the original, and when I'm in the mood just for like a fun Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, this is the one that I usually go to. As far as the gore is definitely more than the original, but I was kind of surprised at how tame this still is. You know what I mean? Because it's nowhere near the level of Texas Chainsaw Massacre the beginning, or, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. This film, you know, definitely has some gory parts, you know, like there's some limbs that are being chopped off and stuff like that, but I was shocked that it is still pretty subtle for the most part, and rather than focusing on like the gore aspect of it, it really kind of forces you to witness like how much pain these people are in. For example, there's the guy in the wife beater that gets his leg sawed off with the chainsaw, and he gets put on the meat hook. And, you know, there's the whole scene where Jessica Biel is trying to lift him off of it and save him, and rather than it just being like really, really gory, it just forces you to, you know, kind of sit with these characters and, you know, kind of experience this guy's pain as he's, you know, on this hook. Like, you just feel awful for him. And, you know, I think that this film, you know, really, like I said, makes up for the lack of crime that original film had. Makes up for it with just the tension and some of the really fucked up situations that it puts these characters in. But, you know, there's still some really good scare moments. The moment where Leatherface, you know, looks up and he's wearing Kemper's face and he's all like, "Argh." Like, that whole thing, that's a really good scare. You know, again, everything with Arlie Ermy. I mean, that guy is just super fucking scary. And then you get kind of some payoff with him at the end where Jessica Biel gets to run him over and she saves the baby. And she also gets to chop Leatherface's arm off, which I thought was really, really cool to actually see her, like, do some damage against him. You know, because in the original, Sally just, like, got away, you know, but to actually see the final girl get, you know, do some damage on Leatherface, I thought that was cool. And again, it just kind of adds more to Jessica Biel's character and makes her more of a badass. I mean, she's the only one that ever was, you know, chopped Leatherface's fucking arm off, right? So, anyways, I think this is just a really, really enjoyable film. I have a lot of fun with it every time I watch it. I think that, you know, it pays homage to the original, but it's not a shot-for-shot remake. And I think that's why I like it. It takes kind of the original core foundation of the 1974 film, and it just does some different things, and it adds it adds new elements to it. And I think that's what every good remake should do, you know, because if you're just going to come out here and remake a film and it's just going to be shot for shot, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? But this film, I think, is a remake done right. I would recommend this to any horror fans. Even if you don't really like gore, I would say still watch this because it's really not as gory as you would probably assume. And it's just a really, really solid horror movie. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm sure that I forgot something because I always stop recording and then I realize that, oh, I should have said this or I should have said that. But anyways, I'm going to go take this off now because it's really tight and uncomfortable. So anyway, guys, if you're still here for some reason, I appreciate you watching. Stick around, subscribe even, maybe, because I'll have more subpar movie reviews coming your way, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.